Good morning, TikTok family. Good morning. Happy July. It's July 2nd. Early in the morning. It's still kind of hot outside. It's a beautiful day. How y'all feeling out there? First of all, I'd like to thank y'all, everybody that's been liking the videos for Plain Planet, the advertisements I have sitting up here right now. I got some I'm excited about Plain Planet. I got some drops happening right now. You can get the stuff on Etsy, but that's just really a placeholder. I'm trying not to hemorrhage money using the Shopify website or Wix or whatever I decide I'm going to use for my website. I'm trying not to hemorrhage money every month by not getting no sales and generating enough interest in Plain Planet so I can do a drop. I got some samples coming on some on some shirts. I went to the garment district last week and I found a good wholesaler. It's not really a manufacturer yet. I don't think I'm really ready for a manufacturer. With a manufacturer, you got to get minimums. But I do got a good wholesaler with some really good style garments and real high quality hoodies and sweatshirts and t-shirts, and I also got some sweat shorts and sweatpants. I'm not going to get into the denim right yet. But anyway, let's get to it. Y'all see the title of the video, the Bible and how the Bible is mind control. How the Bible is used to enslave you. This is part 2 to the last video I did. Let me give you a little context. All right, now, in 1619, the first documented arrival of captive Africans in the English colony of Point Comfort, today part of the Hamptons, is often used as the symbolic beginning of African slavery in the English colonies known as the United States, or that became the United States. Their legal system was not identical to the later system of chattel slavery. Now, in 1660s to 1705, colonial governments gradually passed laws making slavery hereditary, race-based, and lifelong. By 1705, Virginia's slave codes had firmly established chattel slavery in Virginia, and similar systems spread throughout the colonies. 1865, slavery was formally abolished in the United States by ratification of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. So we got here from 1619 to the 1660s, which is 50 years or so. Then you got 40 plus years to 1705. The colonial governments made chattel slavery hereditary. That means it got passed down. So if you was a slave, your children, your grandchildren were slaves, making it perpetual. Indefinite, meaning forever, which is crazy to me. And then sometime in 1865, it was formally abolished. So for about 150 to 200 years, they really put the chokehold on indigenous people and the people that they imported from Africa. So for about 3 generations, they totally tortured these people. I don't know if y'all have heard of satanic ritual abuse. I don't know if I can say that up here. I love TikTok Shop, by the way. But this is a form of mind control in itself. It causes all kind of trauma to a person, and that trauma causes you to have what's called Stockholm syndrome. And you love your captor, because, you don't know nothing else but to hopefully you can love him enough so that he can save you. basically. I didn't, go into all of the psychology behind Stockholm syndrome, but it's really interesting. But anyway, you know, then they passed it down saying that chattel slavery passed down to your kids, your grandkids, and so on. So I just want you guys to imagine what that's like in the mind. You're being lawlessly and utterly punished in every way that you can possibly be punished. I'm trying not to say the right words because I don't want to set the algorithm back. So I can't really say the words that I want to say. You guys, please bear with me because, I know it's kids and I know it's people watching this that I got to really watch my language. That's why if you notice, I talk slow and I try to pick my words wisely because I am on a public forum. We love TikTok shop, by the way. Now, in case you didn't know, let's go into chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is a system in which a person is treated as the legal property or chattel of another person. Its defining characteristics include ownership. Enslaved people could be bought or sold, traded, or inherited like property. Lifelong status. Enslavement was generally for life, unless the person was legally freed. Hereditary. In many systems, especially in the American colonies and later the United States, the status of an enslaved mother was automatically passed to her children. These slaves also had no legal autonomy, which means enslaved people had few or no legal rights to control their labor, movement, marriage, or family life. Now let's talk about this for a minute. And I want you guys, whether you're white, whether you're black, whatever race, color, creed, or religion that you are, I want you to imagine yourself as a slave child. Now let's stay focused here. We're talking about how they use the Bible as a form of mind control. Now, as a child, you feel as though you are totally helpless. You're in a perpetual state of fear and survival because it was totally lawless, meaning there was no laws that protected you in any way. A white person or a slave owner could take you out of here for anything. He could squash you as if you were an insect. And there was no law that said that he would be punished or anything. So I just want you guys to imagine what that would be like. What would you do in this state of survival, this state of life and death? I just want you guys to understand what that's like. They made sure you had no connection to your family because they could just sell you off. You would have no connection to your family, to your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, because they could just be sold off. Either that or they can just be wiped out, taken out of here, sent back to the Most High for any little thing. The movie Get Out used a lot of references to this. That's why I used that as the thumbnail. In the movie Get Out, they killed a deer. They had the antlers on the deer, and it was clearly a male deer, in which was called a buck. A buck is what they called a male slave. Now, remember what they said in Get Out. They said, it was too many deer, and they needed to kill off the male bucks. a buck is also something, sexual that I can't talk about, which had to do with breeding, as well as the females. Now, this went on for 150 to 200 years. The mastery of how to actually control a slave, and the mastery of basically, trauma-based mind control on the slave. It was passed down. The trauma, was passed down from generation to generation. And it was understood. A lot of things that the slaves would do is, they would have ways that of survival that included, how they talked to their owner, how they reacted to different punishments, as well as it created this dynamic that totally decimated the black family. There again, I'm going to stay focused. I'm going to try to keep this video to 15 minutes. The helplessness, the loneliness, just the fact that you're disconnected from everything. You are less than a horse. Now, let's read. The books of the Bible were written over many centuries, roughly from 1200 BC to 100 AD, and circulated as a handwritten manuscript for over 1,000 years. The first major printed Bible using movable type was the Gutenberg Bible, printed around 1454 to 1455 by Johannes Gutenberg in Mainz, Germany. It was printed in Latin and considered one of the most important books in printed history. Now, this takes us back to the 1400s. It was a handwritten manuscript, meaning that only a handful of people could actually read it. And it was written in Latin, meaning that only probably the priests would read it. In comes the Vatican Church. In comes Rome. In comes the Queen of England, meaning that only a few people could read this book. Now, the Queen of England was to be worshipped the same way the pharaohs were worshipped in Egypt. She was a god, and people absolutely listened to a god. Now, we're in Europe now. We're in the Dark Ages, and if I could do, some history on Europe, I'll do that also. But they are way different people than we are. When they went down to Egypt and, they saw the pyramids and they saw everything that they saw, they had a different lens that they were looking at it through. They were looking at it through a European. They didn't really understand spirituality. So they didn't understand what this book was really saying. The only thing that they saw was that it was a God in this book, and that God was not the Queen of England. So they had to radically move against this so-called Bible. Now, Rome was in control because they had the Bible along with a lot of the knowledge that went into running these countries. Now, at the time, England was the top of the food chain. It was in control of the entire planet. Now, they got this manuscript that they composed. It's written in Latin to keep it a hidden document. Then comes in Gutenberg and his movable print, meaning that they didn't have to write this stuff down no more. It had movable print, so that here comes publishing. Here comes books. Instead of it being on papyri and all this ancient script, it was written in books. So now Gutenberg has this movable type. So he wanted to print this book, because obviously it was a powerful book. Now, taking consideration, it was a manuscript, meaning that it was compiled through other knowledge, meaning that it came from, the Egyptians, it came from the Sumerians, it came from, all of these different places and kingdoms. And take this in consideration: Egypt, the Greeks, the Persians, everybody in the world went to Egypt and saw the cities of gold. These people could not fathom what it was to have these great cities. So now their motivation is to recreate this greatness that they did not understand. You understand what I'm trying to say? So they created this manuscript. They put it into Latin. Then Gutenberg came through and wanted to print it up and translate it into English type. This created a huge problem. Now, prepare for part 3 of this video. I can't keep it too long. It's just TikTok. I know about these short attention spans, and I want to capture the mind of the youth. Peace and blessings.